I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the lands of the Hulkaminam speaking people, specifically the Quamson Village. The Board of Education is honored to be able to collaboratively walk beside the Cowichan, Malahat, Subasset, Halal, Penelakut, Kaminas, and Lyaxan peoples who have cared for this land for thousands of years. May we walk gently on the unceded territories of their lands as we work together to lift up all the Hahasmana. Motion to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Thorn. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the March 3rd meeting. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Thorn. All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Strachan. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Sandquist, report of closed meeting.
Thank you. The board met in closed session just prior to open. The business was not concluded, and following the open session, the board will go back into closed. They discussed admin assignments, bargaining, contracts, and property matters. Thank you, Mr. Sandquist.
Action list. Mr. Davey, Millbay Nature School.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just with the restructuring that's taken place, this information item has been, action items been switched over to my portfolio, so I will be speaking with Malahat Haitian as the next step.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent School of Personnel, 8.1.1, please.
Thank you. Again, through you, Chair, just noting administrative reassignment and district leadership adjustments as part of the restructuring of district alignment of duties to support operational priorities and continuity of leadership. The following adjustments took effect March 30th, 2026. Scott Jackson has been reassigned from his role as principal at Cowichan Secondary School to a temporary position at the school board office. Jeff Rowan, Assistant Superintendent, has assumed the role and duties of principal at Cowichan Secondary School for the period of March 30th to July 31st, 2026. These temporary leadership and administrative arrangements are being implemented to ensure effective alignment of responsibilities and continuity of leadership across the district. Additionally, Tammy Renyard was appointed as Assistant Superintendent in advance of her official start date of August 1st, 2026. The early appointment is intended to provide, again, additional leadership capacity and support during this transition period and to ensure continuity of district portfolios. And unfortunately, Assistant Superintendent Tammy Renyard is not able to join us this evening. Thank you. Okay, next item here is senior leadership updates. Following a thorough internal expression of interest process for an assistant superintendent and 3 directors of instruction as part of our restructuring of the Department of Living Services, we are pleased to announce the successful candidates and welcome them to their new roles. So Assistant Superintendent Tammy Renyard, Directors of Instruction Nicole Boucher, Jennifer Calverley, and Ann Kissinger. And congratulations to Tammy, Nicole, Jennifer, and Ann, who will transition into their new roles effective August 1st. And as noted, Tammy began in her new position March 30th. Next item here, 8.1.3, communication process for the principal, vice principal transfers and assignments for 2026, 2027. In discussion and announcements, they will be made this week. So what is occurring, information will be presented tomorrow. Trustees, managers, principals, and vice principals will receive information in the morning. Information will be then shared at the school-based level for any changes or assignments that are happening for specific schools tomorrow during staff meeting time, and then information will be sent out to the system at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Yeah. Trustees, any questions? Seeing none, moving on.
Great, thank you. Next item here, I'm pleased to introduce for presentation Mary Peter, District Principal for Indigenous Education, and Nicole Boucher, District Principal for Priority Learners, and they are going to be sharing information on how are we doing report. Thank you.
Our monthly cameo. Gail, everyone. Yeah, we've been given 10 minutes. We're going to do our best in that 10 minutes. It's a lot of information, and we tried to pull the salient pieces. And my strategy, I know as an educator, my strategy of just talking faster when I'm limited with time is not effective, but we're going to do our best, and Maria's going to start us off.
Yes. So, I'd Squeal Muckwig. Good day, everyone. I'm Gwenesila Nala. It's good to see you all. And yes, we want to start out with the How Are We Doing Report 24-25 for our school district, and start off with our students. Who are they? Aha. So, as we look at the information, in 2024-25, we had 1,860 Indigenous students, and you can see the breakdown, male and female, pretty close, and compared to on reserve and off reserve with provincial average. And you notice that our school district, Indigenous students make up 22% of the district's total student population, which is consistent with the previous year. Provincially, Indigenous learners make up 11% of its student population.
And I'm remiss to not have preambled that I know that you're aware this report it's generated every January for the previous year. So when we're talking to you today, it's 2024-25 data.
Mm-hmm. Oops.
Did it? Uh-huh.
And then when we look at students in alternate programs for 2024-25, 139 of our 1,860 Indigenous learners were in alternate programs, and 186 of our 6,682 non-Indigenous learners were in alternate programs. So you can see the difference there, 7.4 compared to 2.8. And then also looking at Indigenous students making up the 22% of the total student population, yet Indigenous students make up 43% of the total enrollment in alternate programs.
Yeah. And that reflects an overrepresentation. We also wanted to add that in our district, we're not in the practice of removing students from schools and sending them to an alternate program. Generally speaking, students are opting into those programs. Principals aren't calling. I was in open learning the last year and a half. They weren't calling us saying, we can't do this anymore. We've exhausted our resources. It's students, generally speaking, always opting in. But it does beg the question, what could we be doing in our bricks and mortar schools to discourage that trend? But also many of the students who do opt into an alternate program do express that they're feeling levels of success when they're there. No. Oh, Morris. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We can figure this out. This doesn't count as part of our. Should be that guy there. Nope. Aha.
There we go. So students identified in an inclusive education category. So when we look at this chart, 21% of our Indigenous students have a ministry designation, consistent with last year. 12% of non-Indigenous students have a ministry designation, which is also consistent with last year. And just an interest to note that with our designations, we are doing, as priority learners, Indigenous students being part of that, we're having more psych ed assessments as well.
Yeah, so it's not a surprise that the numbers are higher. It should be reflected that way in many respects because they are our first priorities for assessment, like Mary said. All right, on to some academic indicators.
So when we're looking at the FSA scores, we know that over the years our district has worked really hard at getting participation rates up with our FSA. But you notice with literacy, it might be hard to read from back there, but we have improved in participation for literacy and also for numeracy in writing the assessments. But just keeping in mind that when we were looking at the mass data, they won't show the numbers there. So if it's 10 or under, it won't be showing.
Yeah. And yeah, and just, you probably can't see, but red indicates emerging and gray is on track and the dark blue is extending. So it shows grade 4 Indigenous, non-Indigenous, and for numeracy Indigenous, non-Indigenous. So these results do reflect a significant achievement gap.
And one thing just to note, it's not the grade 4. We were talking about this in a meeting earlier. It's what the students has learned from kindergarten to grade 4. Mhm. And then we look at the grade 7 literacy and numeracy as well. We're looking at, again, an increase in participation, and then the same, we have our emerging there at a high number as for both numeracy and for literacy.
And when you're approaching and considering data with a curious mind, you asked questions and dig deeper, and something that came up for Mary and I said to Mary earlier, I marked these this year, I marked them every year. I marked many Indigenous learners who were not just emerging. There were some that were achieving higher than that, where they reflected. I marked some non-Indigenous learners who were emerging, what's going on here. And Mary noticed with the mass data, if you look at the number of participants, and I will get this quickly, but it doesn't quite add up. So that's a curious question we have. If we have 485 participants, the two numbers here plus the mass data don't add up to that number. So we have some questions, which means we'll dig deeper and dive deeper and ask the questions we need to ask to get the information we really need.
And then the provincial assessments with grade 10 numeracy, literacy, and grade 12 literacy, it shows you right there the emerging and the developing, which is the gray, and then emerging with literacy, and then literacy for grade 12 is developing as well compared to non-Aboriginal.
Yeah, and if you can't read from where you're sitting, Indigenous learners are this column, non-Indigenous learners are that column, so it does speak to another gap in achievement. This isn't cohort by cohort, but it was worthy to note that our grade 12 students were all in the developing range, where in grade 10 of the same year it was emerging. So it's a curious question we have if we look at each cohort, how are they doing? Because it does indicate there could be some growth there, but we need to look at individual cohorts. And then it kind of gets a little bit more exciting here. This is looking at courses where students are achieving a C+ or better or a B or better, and it breaks it down into each academic. And the actual report breaks every course down and has a section for each course, which is also really interesting. But if you look here, this is our comparison of C+ or better for Indigenous learners versus non-Indigenous, B or better for Indigenous learners versus non-Indigenous. So it does demonstrate once again that there is an achievement gap, which we know this is the work we do, this is the work I've been doing my whole career, trying to close this gap. One thing I thought was kind of fun though, if we look at, and the cohort size was small, but if we look at foundations and pre-calculus math, C+ and better is actually higher for Indigenous learners than it is for non-Indigenous learners, and I thought that was noteworthy. But the thing I thought was really noteworthy, and this isn't part of the report, but I looked at 2 years, or we looked at 2 years compared to one another. And here's kind of the exciting piece for us today. If we look at the previous years, so 2023-24 compared to 2024-25, and again, this is our C+ better, our B better, there's growth across the board in almost every course. When we get down to the senior courses, BC, First Peoples 12, English 12, we don't see that trend. But look at this, we went from a C+ or better for English 10 from 37 to 53, and a B or better percent 29 to 39. That's a huge gain. That's a huge increase. You know, if we look at that foundations and pre-calc, 54 to 76 for the C+ or better. And when the ministry breaks it down in the report, they don't look at the B or better, they're looking at the C+ or better. But you work your way down that list and there's improvement across the board until we get into the senior grades. And a lot of these subjects that are masked, it's because we don't always offer those in our district, across the district every year. So it might not be that students aren't being successful, it's that that course wasn't offered that year. So quickly, because we're running out of time, talking about transitions. So we're considering, for the purpose of this presentation, 6-year completion rates. So students entering grade 8 and completing within 6 years. Generally following the trend, red is Indigenous, blue is non-Indigenous. Transition 8 to 9, 9 to 10, looking really good. 10 to 11, a little less, and then we dip 11 to 12, and the grad rate dips Typically in our schools, in our high schools, once you finish your grade 10 year, you moved into grade 11, even if you didn't quite make it through all the courses. So it really could look a little bit dippier into grade 10 and then level out somewhat. But that is sort of our reality right now in terms of that 6-year completion rate. But some encouraging results-ish on the next slide. On this histogram on the left, it shows that our 6-year completion rates started to dip around 2022, 23 and dipped again, and then we made a fairly significant gain, well, not really, 4% gain from 2023, 24 to 24, 25, and we hope to be on track to improve on that this year. We put a lot of time, effort, and resources into helping those students graduate, especially if they're, year 5 and year 6 students. So really working on those pieces, and also just going back quickly, looking at that analysis course by course. We were looking at what are the big barrier courses for grade 10 so that we can help our grade 10s become more successful. And a small example of things that we're trying to do is Tim has given us the green light to work with science teachers around the district to take a look at how we deliver that curriculum and how it could be more competency-based and appeal to a broader range of learners and help make more students successful. And I've tapped a few department heads on the shoulder and said, what do you think of this work? And it was, count me in, I want to do this work and be a part of this. So really looking at those barrier courses and how to make them more manageable. And Mary's going to quickly, this is just a super broad overview because this is pages upon pages with just a couple of examples to show some student survey themes.
So you're looking at the student surveys for the grade 3, 4, do you like school, Aboriginal equal to non-Aboriginal, same with do adults in the school treat all students fairly, are you learning about First Peoples at school, and Indigenous people. So it's the same across the board.
Which are quite consistent with previous years and provincial data. And this is just a snippet from grade 10.
So with grade 10 being safe at school, are you bullied, teased, or picked on? You can see that one is the straight line across, and it could, tell a story, things that happen in the school. And adults care about you, there's an upward trend. And are you satisfied with the school preparing you for the future and for post-secondary education?
Yeah, so generally our Indigenous learners are saying similar things. And then, when we saw that line at the bottom, oh no, what's going on there? And it was actually a good thing because Indigenous learners who are answering that question are saying, no, I don't feel like I'm being bullied or picked on. And then they ask those deeper questions. Okay, 71 respondents in grade 10. We have many more than 71 Indigenous learners in grade 10 last year. So who didn't we hear from and what would they have told us and where do we need to go to get that information? So just, really, really important data and really important to dive deep into every aspect of it and try to dig through the data to get the answers to the questions that can inform what we need to do to move forward.
And then using this information to have conversations with principals and vice principals about what sort of conversations could happen at the school level.
I think that sort of summarizes. For example, we just walked out of a meeting into this one. We were engaged with some principal colleagues about what do we need to do to kind of adjust and shift attitudes towards FSAs, because that is the measure that the ministry is using. So that's the measure we need to consider. So what needs to shift and change for us to have a bigger impact? Just an example.
Thank you. Trustees' questions. Trustee Thorne.
My biggest concern with all that I see for our students is I'm big on data. I'm big on how many are actually dogwood, how many are actually going to get the adult base. Because I don't care for the adult. I promoted in the beginning to get rid of Evergreen. They just renamed it. And we have so much value in our kids that we need to make sure that, I saw grade 4, I thought this is a good age to start, because that's when you start seeing the change between grade 4 and grade 6. And when they finally come down to Quamich or any other school, that's where they separate. So I just get concerned because I look at provincial data versus district data, and they don't match. They don't match at all, and it worries me. Every time I go to a Hull Community grads when they have it at the end, I wonder how many of them really got dogwoods. How many of the parents know the difference between a dogwood and an adult, and what it's going to do to the bands who have to upgrade?
Yeah.
And it falls back on the teachers, or they didn't teach. It's not the teachers, it was just, what are we doing wrong to fix that?
Yeah,
That's
you
my
make a great
biggest
point.
concern.
And if I can answer too, the conversations we're having with communities, hosting community dinners with different nations and having parents informed about the different graduation and what they are. What is an evergreen? What is an adult dogwood? And what is a full dogwood? Helping families understand that. But because yes, historically, people did not know. I had parents frustrated in my previous years teaching where they go, my child walked across the stage, they graduated. Well, they tried to go somewhere and they've got this evergreen certificate saying they completed 12 years of school. So historically, some families have that feeling of what's really going on. So if we provide that information on what is what, having the parents and the children understanding what credits they need in order to graduate, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah, we made a new graphic this year for our parents that outlines the difference between the two so they can be really clear. Another piece in my role, and I can speak about Ann Kissinger and her role with inclusive education, is all of our students are on a path to a regular dogwood until they're older. So if it turns out to be an evergreen, that conversation is had much later because we want to give every child every opportunity to be successful with the adaptations that our teachers should be really good at making for students. And the other piece with our secondary principals, the adult dogwood wasn't really a thing with us in our district until I'd say about 10 years ago, and then it became quite popular. That data is in this report. We just didn't pull it out for this presentation because of time. But I don't know the numbers by heart, but the adult dogwood data from 23-24 to 24-25 went down. So there were fewer adult dogwoods relative to the year before, which might indicate growth, but it's too early to say if it's a trend. But we are advising our principals across the district to not begin to have adult grad conversations until that child is an adult or within a month or two of their birthday. Because some students, if they know I'm 17 and if I just wait a few months, I can do an adult grad versus I'm 17, I have all this time and I should really do my best and be supported to get as far as I can. That's the messaging we want to give, and really trying to only pull out the adult option if they are 18 and have a year left at school with 3 years worth of work. It needs to be a last resort. I agree with everything you said. So, yeah.
Trustee Sousa.
Thank you for this information. I'm curious about the number of Indigenous students heading into the alternate program. Not that I don't use anything wrong about alternative education at all whatsoever, but I'm curious about that. Is it the community? Is it just a safer, or just different ways of bring the education? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, that was a part of the conversation that came up in the previous meeting we had, where some are principals of high schools and have been in the high school and finding that it is the child or the family that is choosing it. So the students are finding that that's the best alternative for them based on their individual circumstances, whether they're working or whether the brick and mortar school isn't working for them. So it's not something that we're saying, oh, here, you need to do this.
I get
Yeah,
that.
so, so it's an option, and it's an option that they find is working best for them.
Yeah. In quite a few cases, I did the intakes up until around November for this year and last year for the satellite sites, and it was a real mix. Like, a lot of students might have been away from school for a year or two or more, and it's a softer landing to come back to because when you come to one of our satellite sites or CVOLC, rather than an 8-block timetable or 4 each semester, you can say, okay, I'm going to tackle math first because I'm really good at math, or I'm going to tackle math first because it's a struggle and I need to get out of the way, or I'm going to try 2 things to start. It's so individualized that you can bite off what you feel is manageable. So that was a lot. Some it was, this place is just too big and too busy. Sometimes it's social issues, sometimes it's I've fallen behind, or I've,
Yeah, I suppose getting us curious as to the various reasons. Thank you.
yeah, and the schools, they've been great, really trying everything they can before, because often people opt in and say, I'd like to come, and our process is they need a referral from the school, and they have to have gone through the school-based team, and there have to be minutes to support the referral. So the schools are getting quite good at the referrals, but they're also really good at reaching out to the family to say, hey, before we do this referral, can we have you in and have a conversation, because we don't want to lose you. And yeah, especially our satellite kids, sometimes it's just a bit more manageable to do the academics with one teacher rather than a bunch.
Trustee Kraft?
Nicole answered my question.
Trustee Doman?
We notice, like, starts in grade 4 where, there's that big gap. Okay. And that gap just doesn't close. It's just not closing. We have 1,500 people working in this district who are bending over backwards trying to close that gap, but the progress is very slow. Why is that?
I think it's, one is attendance with students, because you need to be at school to learn. And we've been doing some initiatives within the district to improve attendance, to have the document that's come forward regarding attendance. And at the same time, it is making sure that students feel safe and that they want to be in the classroom and learn. So it's I don't know that it's one thing, but it's, in our district, we have been working to improve literacy for, right from, starting from kindergarten all the way through to grade 9. And having those literacy interventions are showing improvement, but like you say, at a snail's pace.
But there seems to be that gap in age where you actually catch them. And how is the Indigenous community trying to get their kids in and keeping them in the classroom? Well, that's like I said, we got a whole bunch of people bending over backwards, but there's this gap of, you said it, attendance. And like I said, we got people bending over backwards for this. How do we solve that?
I think it's going to take all of us. Everyone has that responsibility to be able to ensure, whatever the reason. Like I said, it's not one particular reason. It's not, it might be food security, it might be poverty, it might be housing, it might be a lack of trust with the system, intergenerational trauma. All these kinds of things come into play, and we're trying to get the children in the door so that they feel safe. And once they feel safe and build relationships, then they'll start to learn. So it is happening, but not happening as quickly as we would like it to.
Trustee Thorne and Trustee Sousa.
I think with all of the statistics that you get, what I would really like to know one day down the road is how many dogwood holders are off reserve? How many dogwood holders are on reserve? And find out what's happening here if one outnumbers the other. And I agree with you, because I'm stupid. I'm never very dumb. I try to help all my kids, and you have to push them. And and luckily they've all gone through, my other daughter just graduated this year. And I'm really happy. But a lot of people aren't as lucky as some of us who understand. You said, it could be blockage from residential school. They don't care. They don't believe in it. And those are the kinds of things that kids inherit. They inherit that feeling that if it didn't do them any good, what's it going to do to me? But you've got to understand that the promotion with parent involvement, we have our Indigenous bands that have an education council, but what's missing is parents to be involved with them more and more, because we have to get it out to understand that it's up to me as the father to make sure that my child gets the best that he or she deserves. Otherwise, I'm stuck with them for the rest of my life. That's just a comment that I'd throw in there.
Yeah, and not that I'm inviting myself back for another board meeting, but we do have that data around dogwoods on reserve versus off reserve, which we can give to you. And also, we meet with the nations every month, and all of the education liaisons of the nations are also very committed to what we will call, for a lack of a better term, an attendance campaign this year. And schools are reporting that they are seeing an improvement in attendance, and we're looking to try to quantify that, because we haven't quantified attendance in such a large scale before. So tomorrow, Glenn Posey and I we're spending the afternoon with a new dashboard that the ministry's created for attendance, so we can hopefully share some good data, but sharing that with parents and promoting that. I noticed Lake Cowichan put some stuff on their website about attendance yesterday, so the schools are rolling up their sleeves and doing attendance work that we haven't seen at the scale in the past. So
I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I'm a parent, so it just...
Yeah, well, the finesse definition of chronic non-attendance is 18 days a year, which is 1.8 days a month. And my two school-age kids right now are, they are hitting a home run in the chronic, non-attendance department, because they're missing more than 2 days each a month, because for many different reasons, it's sometimes hard to get our kids out the door and into the building. So it's a struggle, and we're all gonna roll up our sleeves.
Trustee Sousa, and then Trustee Croft.
Thank you. It's actually a nice segue, I think, into it's more of a comment, or a bit of amusing anyway, and that is the sort of potential impact of land-based learning that you're going to start, a program that you're going to be starting on attendance as well. And I know that's a little bit of the whole picture, but I'm really going to be curious about that as to how that may impact on attendance numbers. And again, I know it's just limited in terms of the program rollout and how many kids you'll have. But I'm curious if there's a way of tracking and making correlations between that form of education, land-based in particular, and
Just in the principals meeting last week, I was with the cohort, Quamaton, and they're doing a land-based program, and they're finding that, I can't remember the percentage she said, but there's an increase in attendance of people that weren't attending school that are now attending more with that particular land-based program. And Claire, I believe, was reporting on that last month. Claire Whitney.
Yeah, Darren Hart said at Alexander on a land-based day, the children come to school. Like he said, meeting kids for the first time into the school year because it's a land-based day. So,
I do believe that Claire Whitney did mention that when they came to BEBC.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, BEBC.
Trustee Quack.
Mary, I think you talked a little bit about it earlier about how are we reaching out to the parents of families whose kids are struggling? I think you mentioned something about talking to parents, preparing materials. Is there anything else, or fill that out?
Oh yeah, our staff and schools do amazing work reaching out to families. Like, I think the trend that started with COVID, with teachers reaching out to families, that hasn't stopped, because prior to that, if something was going on, say with an Indigenous family, they'd say, Mary, your department needs to go check on this family. Whereas with COVID happening, it was the teacher that was reaching out to the family, and the teacher reaching out and connecting with families and finding out what's going on. Even principals now are going to meet with families and find out, well, how can I help you get your child to school every day, or trying to brainstorm with them ideas. So it's the community dinners, it's having people have more conversations about it. It's liaisoning with nations about, let's do an approach where schools are putting out information on attendance, as well as the nations are putting out information on school, and we're all working together collaboratively to help those students be successful.
And we're working on a district framework for attendance, which is new, but as we're working on it, we've been sharing the information with schools. And so there is sort of a template that was shared with schools can develop their own framework for attendance, and shining a light on it because they're here when students are brought to school-based team. Part of their process now is they do an analysis of the historical attendance of every child, and they have a really systemic plan for any child that's not at school, that there's teacher outreach, and they've got different levels of outreach in the school. And I speak to, like, even just a few years ago when I was a school-based principal, you might phone once or twice and think, oh, I've reached out, I've done what I can. And you hear about people like Claire next door saying, can I call you once a week, or is that too much? And the parents said, well, how about every 2 weeks? Okay, and then she does, right? So this is newer for us. Yeah.
Any other questions? Trustee Sousa.
Thank you. Yeah, one more for me. I'm going to be, so the data is from the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
So given what's going on societally, certainly here in the Valley, in terms of increased intolerance and racism and whatnot, especially towards Indigenous population here in Carleton in particular, what we might see next year, in terms of whether the students are still feeling safe. Like, I'm just curious as to whether there's going to be a correlation, just because especially in the past year, not even in the past year, really, since, year, or at least since the Latinas, and just the increased intolerance and racism that we're seeing out there. I'm just curious as to how that might affect the results here. Yeah. It's more of a comment than anything else, but I'm curious to see if there's a trend there or a correlation.
Any other questions, trustees? Ladies, thank you so much for your presentation today. And
Great, thank you, and thank you to Mary and Nicole again. Appreciate that. 8.2.2, graduation and year-end events. Page 29 of your agenda package is a revised list of graduation and district year-end events. The list has been updated to reflect dates, times, and locations for the district scholarship judging and school secondary, or at the secondary schools, which are now set, and sharing the district scholarship allocations to secondary schools and wildcards. So that information's in your package.
trustees, is there anybody other than myself that will be on the district scholarship run?
I'll get back to you. I'd like to do that.
What's the date?
The district scholarship, there's a whole pile of them. District
Nice.
scholarships. It's the presentations where kids present to us to see if they can get a scholarship. It's in your agenda package, trustee Thorne. So pull it up. Pull up your agenda. It's in your agenda package.
I just have a hard time with my work schedule.
Right.
8.2.3, National Day of Mourning, April 28, 2026. Flags at all district schools and at the district office will be lowered to half-mast on April 28, 2026 in recognition of the National Day of Mourning, honoring workers who have been injured or killed on the job and reaffirming our commitment to improve health and safety in our schools and workplaces. Next item, Earth Day, April 22nd, 2026. School district remains committed to advancing our journey toward environmental sustainability. In recent years, the board declared a climate emergency and established the Climate Action Committee, which developed 4 guiding goals: environmental stewardship, education and advocacy, honoring Indigenous teachings, and creating sustainable environments. This year, the District Climate Action Committee, our advisory committee, invited schools to participate in water awareness initiatives throughout the month of March. World Water Day, and recognized on March 22nd by the United Nations. And the month of March marks the time of year when the Waxus, the frog, returns singing songs of the earth and wake up, renewal, and the arrival of warming spring rains. A package was shared with schools to inspire learning connected to this year's UN theme of access to clean water and how women are disproportionately affected by the water crisis. It offers entry points and ideas for deeper explorations of water, both locally and globally, and encourages meaningful engagement with this year's water awareness focus. Earth Day on April 22nd, with this year's theme being environmental progress, doesn't depend on any single administration or election. It's sustained by daily actions of communities, educators, workers, and families protecting where they live and work. Schools will receive information and be encouraged to participate in this day as well. Next item here, National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and Two-Spirited, also known as Red Dress Day, May 5th, 2026, which is the next date, or date of the next board meeting. It's recognizing the upcoming National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirited People, and the date of the next board meeting, known as Red Dress Day. This observance encourages the wearing or display of red clothing to honor and remember missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited people. Acknowledgements, and there are photos coming up here. Acknowledging trustees, staff, and students involved in the VISTA Spring Gathering hosted by our district May 6th and 7th. Thank you to staff who worked during the spring, including finance, payroll, human resources, operations, and technology. Acknowledging those involved in the spring break psych ed assessments, QP learning opportunities, and USW training. During the spring break, extra psych ed assessments were done as part of the board's investment in assessments. And there's a sharing of a photo here. Kelly McManus, a school psychologist. Kelly has enjoyed volleyball break for a student as she completed a psych ed assessment over the spring break. Several QP learning opportunities were held during the first week, as set out in the Service Improvement Committee, or by the Service Improvement Committee. Training included the introduction to supporting students with physical needs in the classroom, empowering students through accessible technology, and understanding and supporting priority learners. Building service worker training was held for custodial staff during the second week. Also acknowledging those involved in the Education Assistance EA Bridge program that the district ran from March 2nd to the 20th, and there's a group photo here of the EA Bridge program participants. And I think I'm correct in sharing that a good number of these individuals are now employed by our school district and actually working in our schools. So congratulations to that group. Also acknowledging the Transportation Department by holding bus evacuation drills on April 1st, the afternoon bus runs, and thank you to the drivers and department for organizing and holding these important bus safety drills that help to better prepare our students and staff in the event of an emergency. Administrative Professionals Day coming up on April 22nd. It's a day to acknowledging the contributions of district's administrative support, which keeps the learning community operating smoothly. Next month, School Principals Day, annually on May 1st, recognizes the importance of principals for elementary to high school and the work they do for the betterment of our schools. Autism Awareness Month is in April, recognizing the contributions, challenges, and achievements of individuals with autism. World Autism Awareness Day is observed on Thursday, April 2nd, to promote awareness, or was observed on Thursday, April 2nd, to promote awareness of autism, a condition that many Canadians have. Provincial assessments, literacy and numeracy, grade 10 through 12 assessments, literacy grade 12 assessments, spring sessions, spring grade 10 and 12, grade 12 assessment administration dates are April 20th to 24th, 2026. The June assessment dates are June 8th to the 19th, 2026. And these are provincial assessments that assess students' proficiency in literacy and numeracy, and they are graduation requirements for students to take the assessments in their grade 10 and 12 years. Reminder that for the 2025-26 student learning surveys are available online until May 1st, 2026 for students and parents in grades 4, 7, 10, and 12, and all staff in BC public schools. And the evidence collected from these surveys informs decisions in the district. Bus registration updates as well. Bus registration is required annually and can be completed online through the transportation website from April 15th to May 31st, 2026 for the 26-27 school year. Information has been sent to parents and is available on the district website under transportation regarding our annual registration process. As per Administrative Procedure 560-1.1, a parent wishing for a new or changed bus service for their student for the subsequent school year must apply annually by May 31st. Laptop computers are available at the transportation office during the regular school year, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and computer access is also available at the student's school location. Transportation office summer hours will be Monday, July 13th through Friday, August 14th, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And students keep their bus passes from year to year. Moving on with the next item, non-instructional day on April 13th, and there's a poster. The April 13th non-instructional day will be school site-based and will be focused on learning, sharing the draft poster here for the day. The morning will be school site-based virtual workshop with keynote speaker Nathaniel Swain on the science of learning for educational equity. The afternoon portion will be focused on reviewing and reflecting on school's framework for enhancing student learning. Learning intentions for the morning are to understand the science of learning and the impact on equity for learners in the school district, to understand cognitive load theory and ways to maximize learning potential in the classroom, to explore how implementing small changes to practice can have a big impact on student learning and engagement, and to reflect on aspects of our practice that we could do more of or less of in supporting our learners. Nathaniel Swain is a teacher, instructional coach, and writer. He produces a blog for teachers called Dr. Swain's Cognitorium, and is the co-host of Chalk Dust podcast. So we're looking forward to a day of learning with Nathaniel Swain. Early learning update, Ready, Set, Learn on March 3rd. The afternoon meeting was hosted at all elementary schools to discuss school-based Ready, Set, Learn events. Similar to last year, schools across the district will be hosting several small events at their schools to welcome new kindergarten students and their families. Schools will be submitting their plans by April 15th so that the information can be shared about the events occurring across the district. Each school will be hosting an event in May and June, and then again later in the summer before the start of the school year. Updates here from schools, Drinkwater Outdoor Learning Project, out of school care program. There's a photo here, sharing photos of the Drinkwater Outdoor Learning Project for our extended out of school care spaces. It's great photos there. Catalyst updates, GearBot competition, and there are photos here. On April 1st, Darcy Zidden of École Mount Provost hosted a morning of GearBot competition between École Mount Provost students and a team from Bench Elementary. District chess tournament on April 16th. The district chess tournament for grades 2 to 12 will be held at George Bonner Elementary from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Drama Challenge. The Drama Challenge will be held at Quamachin School. This year's challenge is to create a 2-minute team skit with a theme of unusual forecast with an athlete. The school teams will be given an improv and prop challenge of the day. Next items around Skills Canada BC Mid-Island Regionals. Skills Canada BC Mid-Island Regional Competition on Vancouver Island is an Olympic-style event that brings together students from across the island to compete in skilled trades and technology challenges. These competitions are designed to showcase students' practical abilities, promote careers in trades, and inspire the next generation of skilled workers. The following students from the Cowichan Valley School District placed at the regionals. Gold medal students have qualified to participate at the Skills Canada BC Provincial Championships taking place in Abbotsford next week on April 15th. Win there could send competitors to the National Championships in Toronto at the end of May. And gold medalists, Damian Sutton in carpentry, Lydia Popma in culinary, Aiden Elvins in electronics, Connor Hogg and Corbin Vasalinda in robotics. Silver medalists, Ethan Sloan in carpentry, Miriam Kuenberg in electronics, Will Baker, Everest Ward, Alex Tainsler, and Carlotta Tech in robotics, and bronze medalists, Alexander Sadens in electronics, Yisheng Liu and Josh Gilbert in robotics. And thanks to all students who took part in, and congratulations to these students for their work. There's a video here that will show after my sharing the mobile robotics competition. We are incredibly proud of the outstanding success of our Francis Kelsey robotics students at the Skills Canada Central Vancouver Island Regional Championships. With the virtual support of the district's careers department, our students achieved a full podium sweep, earning gold, silver, and bronze medals in the Skills Canada Mobile Robotics Competition. It was entitled Disaster Rescue. First place demonstrated elite consistency, achieving a tournament high score of 24 points. Connor Hogue and Corbin Vasalinda. Second place, silver, showed true grit, overcoming many mechanical and technical setbacks to secure a 15-point run just in time. Will Baker, Everest Ward, Alex Tensler, and Carlotta Tech. Third place for bronze, mastered the art of consistency with 3 back-to-back strong runs, 11, 13, and 14 points, Yisheng Liu and Josh Gilbert. And the victory marks the 8th time Francis Kelsey has qualified for the Skills Canada BC Provincial Championships taking place in Abbotsford on April 15th. Win there could send our team to the National Championships in Toronto at the end of May. So congratulations to all competitors and coaches. And again, sharing of a short video of the mobile robotics competition.
Can't guarantee if there will be sound. And there won't be.
Play by play.
Yeah. You hear the kids in the back.
We need an announcer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item here with photos is the Francis Kelsey Secondary School students who participated in the TASK program, recently completed the carpentry component of their journey. Students supervised and instructed by Camosun College and Cowichan Valley School District shop instructor worked in teams to construct 8-foot by 8-foot sheds with 2x4 framing, rafter roofs, and latching doors. Students created stairs for their achievement or for attachment to their sheds once delivered. Students learned quickly and displayed excellent teamwork as they completed their projects ahead of schedule. Due to this, they were asked to assemble a steel and polycarbonate greenhouses for Francis Kelsey Horticultural Program, as shown in the photos. Team of 16 students finished the greenhouse within 10 hours, referring to shop drawings and instructional videos to find success. So well done to these students. It's very nice. Chemainus Elementary, a few items here. Chemainus Elementary, and there are photos. Yeah, the grade 5 and 6 girls are grade 5 and 6 boys and girls had successful volleyball seasons. They demonstrated skill development and enjoying games with other schools. The photos of the girls' traveling team following their games at Maple Bay, and thanks are extended to coaches Tyler Armstrong, Cindy Bowden, and Richard Gibbs for their dedication and support of these students. Also sharing photos, a visit from Island Savings, who taught the Chemainus Elementary grade 5 and 6 students about financial literacy. Staff and students enjoyed the learning and found it very useful. The school also had an upcoming drama workshop with their grade 4 classes with the Chemainus Theatre Playhouse. Next items here, Lake Cowichan School, photos as well, sharing photos from Lake Cowichan School, images of the school garden as part of the community plants program. Several photos show Laura Elliott's visit to Lake Cowichan School for the winter weaving workshop. Students worked with wool and cardboard looms while learning about the cultural teachings connected to weaving. So also pictures of the Lake Cowichan School grade 8 to 12 computer technologies class, where students took apart laptops and CPUs, identified internal components, rebuilt the devices to see if they would power back up. One photo features the Lake Cowichan School grade 6 and 7 boys volleyball team, and images of Lake Cowichan School grade 6 big buddies working with their Paulson little buddies. So great photos there. Nice. Next photos here are coming from Chemainus Secondary, and sharing some images of Laura Elliott's visit to Chemainus Secondary School on March 2nd for the winter weaving workshop. Students learned how to make a small pouch and blanket on a cardboard loom and are continuing to work on their weavings. Students enjoyed these meaningful experiences, eagerly asking questions, respectfully listening, and intentionally engaging with these materials. Through storied learning, CM Laura Elliott spoke about her own experiences learning how to weave and shared about her family teachings and understandings of cedar and textile weaving. CM Laura Elliott will return for more weaving after spring break, and thank you to all who helped create these moments of shared learning. Also, over the past few weeks, Chemainus Secondary students have been working on their weavings during the weekly event. It's titled A Place of Gathering on Mondays at lunch in room 215. Students enjoyed sourdough bread, homemade plum jam, tea, and all while learning from weaver CM Laura Elliott. Each week, A Place of Gathering, they are joined by ICY support worker Elaine Jack, and have different events happening depending on the time of the year. Chemainus Secondary School grade 8 language and cultural classes welcomed 2 special guests during their final days of the course. After reflecting on their connections to the land, they spent 2 days learning outdoors. Students created collaborative art using found materials and explored the theme of respect, responsibility, and their roles in relation to the land. Also sharing photos of Chemainus Secondary School on World Water Day, helping to clean local watersheds, including nearby creeks, beaches, rivers, and streams, and surrounding school and community areas. CVOLC and the Grove had several classes take up the challenge to participate in World Water Day. Nicole Adams and Christine Robbins. Students took action with the fish release at Fuller Lake, an amazing hands-on way to connect with local ecosystem, and they're sharing photos of the Grove kindergarten to grade 5 classes at the fish release. Cal Hosey and Lorna McPherson dove into water testing, giving students real scientific insight into water quality and the environmental stewardship in Lake Cowichan, and they're sharing photos of the Lake Cowichan Open Learning Lake Water Sampling Analysis. Ashley McLeod and the Performing Arts Academy students engaged in powerful pre-learning, reading A Long Walk to Water, exploring global and local water sustainability, and discovering what makes our local watersheds thrive. Their learning journey wrapped up meaningful time on the land at the beach in Cowichan Bay, connecting knowledge with place, with the help of May Peter and Tim Olszewski, thank you, who shared stories and scientific and historical information with the students. Thank you so much for that help. Appreciate that. Take a Hike class connected with water and ocean ecosystems through the whale watching, where students were grateful to observe orcas. And in honor of the World Water Day, the class also participated in a beach cleanup. And the open learning class at the House of Friendship joined in environmental stewardship at the beach cleanup along the Cowichan River, giving back to the local waterways as they learned from, and they're sharing photos also of this beach cleanup. So great events throughout the district. École Mount Provost, Carnival Week. Students, families, and staff celebrated Carnival during the week of March 9th to 13th. French Immersion News, Concours d'Art Oratoire, École Cobble Hill and École Mount Provost have their annual French speech arts competition on Thursday, April 9th from 9:30 to 11. École Cobble Hill will host this year's competition for students in grades 5 through 7. 11 students in grades 5 through 7 will deliver a 3 to 5 minute speech by memory in front of their peers and judges, and finalists move on to the provincial competition on Saturday, May 2nd at the SFU campus in Surrey. Dates of the 2SL LGBTQIA+ recognition. At the Cowichan Valley School District, we want to take the time to acknowledge those in our schools who are part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And there are some upcoming dates for us to celebrate, recognize, and see 2S LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and families, neighbors, and friends in our classes and school community. Every person deserves to feel safe and be respected for who they are. International Day, our International Trans Day of Visibility is Tuesday, March 31st. Was International Trans Day of Visibility, which is intended to recognize and experience the voices of transgender people in our community. It's a day to ask yourself how you can be an active ally for transgender members of our community. The International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia is an annual event observed on May 17th and aims to coordinate international events that raise awareness of 2SLGBTQIA+ rights violations and stimulate rights work worldwide. And the theme for the 2026 will be At the Heart of Democracy. Pride Month, June is Pride Month, and the Cowichan Valley School District celebrates Pride Month as one way to bring awareness to the historic and ongoing marginalization of members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, and to acknowledge current attempts to remove protected rights from this group. Pride Month is a reminder to celebrate friends, neighbors, and others whose gender identity expressions, sexual orientation may not match ours, and we can actively work towards creating a sense of safety for all. We're inviting you to join in the Cowichan School District group at the Cowichan Walk and Festival Pride Parade at the end of June, and the date is to be announced. We will have flags and a big banner to walk behind. Lots of flags.
Thank you, Superintendent, for
You're
that.
Long service recognition tea on March 12th at Cowichan Secondary School, Solomon Gallium Place, where the board recognized employees for 25, 30, and 35 years of service. A fantastic event. Vista Spring Conference was attended. We attended the Vancouver Island School Trustee Association Spring Conference on March 6th and 7th, hosted by our district. The Friday program included a tour of Cowichan Secondary School, panel discussion on student voice, presentation on values-based budgeting. On Saturday, there was a presentation by the Gulf Island School District, followed by Vista's business session. Mental Health Week, organized by the Canadian Mental Health Association, takes place on May 4th through 10th, 2026. This year's theme is Come Together Canada, Stronger Connections and Better Mental Health. Upcoming meetings, the BC Schools Superintendents Association Spring Forum will be attending this event in Vancouver, April 16th through 17th. This year's theme, Voices in the System, Reimagining Learning and Leadership. And then school visits that are coming up here since the last board meeting, Cowichan Secondary, March 4th to April 1st, Indigenous Education Council and Principal and Vice Principals meeting. CVOLC, March 12th, DSAC meeting, and school visits continue, Chemainus Elementary, George Potter Elementary, and Drinkwater Elementary. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent?
You see you had some free time then?
It's fantastic things happening across the district, so
Yes, there
thanks
are.
to share that.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Secretary Treasurer? For Board of Finance.
Yes, thank you. I have a brief presentation on the 2026-2027 annual budget. There's been no changes to report to the board since last Tuesday, but for the interest of the public and our gallery, I'll just quickly walk through the presentation that we did last Tuesday to get it into the open board record. I looked at, we've been tracking our district enrollment decline over the last 3 years and wanted to see, last 3 years being the 2 years, ending this year and next year, and wanted to see how this Cowichan Valley are declining as compared to the other 59 school districts in the province. So I put together this chart here to show the estimated enrollment next year and the differences of changes. And over the last over the next year and the past 2 years, we are anticipating a total decline of 500.1165 FTE. So we are in a period of relatively rapid decline. And if you look through this attachment, you'll see that it's actually a lot faster than a lot of the other school districts on the island. So there is something happening in the Cowichan Valley with our student population. Where we're going to have declined over 3 years, 5.8%. You can see those districts that are declining faster. Many of them are northern or very, very small school districts. So just a trend that we're following and anticipating not to turn around for quite some time. Moving along, the preliminary grant has been announced. It came out on March the 12th. There are no changes between the 25-26 and 26-27 per student rates. So the grant that's been calculated for 26-27 does not have any funding for inflation, and at this time does not have any funding for wage settlements. So we are anticipating some of the wage settlement information for teachers and exempt to come shortly and be able to make those payments. CUPE and USW are still in their bargaining cycle, so that's not included here. What is interesting is that for the second year in a row, school districts in the province are overall anticipating that enrollment decline from the previous year. So next year, the enrollment drop is expected to be 5,700. with 51 of the 60 school districts in a period of enrollment decline. But not in categories of unique student needs. So level 2 students are anticipated to increase by 1,029 over this year, while we're still seeing an enrollment decline. So complexities in classrooms with designations and fewer students creates a more complex learning environment. Overall in the grant, 46 school districts are anticipated to have a decrease in the grant. School District 79 is one of those, and School District 79 is back in funding protection. So the bottom line there shows that 28 school districts are now anticipated to be in funding protection, where this year, 25-26, that was 8. And so what funding protection is in periods of rapid decline, you're guaranteed to get 98.5% of the funding you received the year before. And that's to allow boards to make necessary changes thoughtfully and within the year to right-size your organization to the new funding reality. So that's all here for information. I included the grant, which is this document. This is what it looks like when we see it. Anybody can't really see those numbers because they're very small. But it basically breaks down the September grant, the February grant, and the May grant. September being almost 95% of the funding that comes into the board. And there you can see the funding protection line item, 681,000. Well, I can't really get it zoomed properly. There it is, $681,496, and I'll explain on the next slides what that really means. So if you compare the grant year over year, down by 1.6 million. Well, that does not show up on a screen. Down by 1.6 million in total on the bottom line this year to next year. Without funding protection, that would be a $2.3 million drop. So funding protection has provided that approximately $681,000. What that also means is any new students that come into the district, if we're wrong on the enrollment decline, we have to pay that back first before there's another dollar on the grant. So if there's more designations than what we projected, we'll have to first generate $681,000 of funding before we see a penny of that new funding. So it is kind of risky, budgeting and funding protection. I also showed the overall grant. So there's some ups and downs. The it's big on my screen. The 1.6 grant reduction is up on the top line, and then there's some ins and outs there that also make other adjustments. So overall revenue is down 1.4 million year over year. And then moving along, that creates a shortfall, and when we roll everything forward, and I'll get to that here in a minute, but right now the shortfall is about 4.3 million. And I have another sheet included in the package, which shows how we reconcile to that 4.3 million. So a starting position of 4.3, the big reason being 2.6 was used to balance the current year. So that means that we have another $1.7 million worth of funding pressures that have come into this budget. Main reason being benefit increases across the board for health and dental, and the other being teacher increment. Teachers go up in wages year over year until they reach the top step, and we have an election and just a ton of inflation. And so I'll just move through that one. The final piece to really pay attention to is the board surplus, because that's sort of the good news here in helping balance next year's budget. Currently unrestricted, there's 4.3 million. So after the budget was adopted in February to finish off the current year, 25-26, there was $4.3 million left in the bank. The last projection calculated with balances at February 28th was generating a 1.3 million for lots of reasons. Main one being underspend on absenteeism and some wage accounts. So available could be 5.6 million if those projections come true for use in balancing the budget. Now that's 5.32%. The board have policy that suggests they keep between 1 to 3%. So for example, if the board were to take 2.5 of surplus, the board would still have about 2.85% available for future years. So, that's probably going to be one of the strategies used when we come back to the board with balancing suggestions. And that concludes my report, if there aren't any other questions.
Seeing none. Superintendent, Indigenous Education.
Thank you.
Council.
Through you, Chair, just 2 reports. Highlights from the March 4th, 2026 meeting of the Indigenous Education Council. 5 of 7 land-based nations were represented, plus the Cowichan Valley Métis Association, the Friendship Center, and the Inuit Collective Society BC Inuit. Jason Sanquist, Secretary Treasurer, provided land acknowledgement. Fred Wilson, Vice Chair, welcomed attendees to the meeting. Mary Peter, District Principal, opened the meeting and invited participants to the territory. Minutes from the February 11th meeting were adopted. Tammy Renyard, District Principal at the time, presented information regarding the Integrated Child and Youth Team. Mary Peter, District Principal, and Jason Sanquist, Secretary Treasurer, spoke to the 2026-2027 budget process. Jason Sanquist, Secretary Treasurer, spoke to the Indigenous Education expenditure projections for 2025-2026. Mary Peter, District Principal, led the council in discussions surrounding the Big House and complexities regarding attendance. Mary Peter, District Principal, shared videos of the Cowichan Secondary School and the Salmona Gathering Place. And future meeting dates are set for April 1st, which is the next minutes that I will share, May 6th and June 3rd.
Thank you very much.
I've got, sorry, one more.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. So the next meeting was held April 1st, 2026. 5 of 7 land-based nations represented, plus the Cowichan Valley Métis Association and the Inuit Collective Society BC Inuit. Land acknowledgement was provided by Claire Spencer, the HMEC Secretariat. Welcome was provided by Dolly Sylvester, District Elder. The meeting was opened in a good way by Mary Peter, District Principal. Minutes of the March 4th, 2026 meeting were adopted. Presentation was given by Tammy Renyard, now Assistant Superintendent, and Brennan McDonald, Manager from Island Health, regarding Indigenous-focused roles with the Integrated Child and Youth team. And a lot of good discussion ensued there. Jason Sanquist, Secretary Treasurer, provided an overview of the district's preliminary budget outlook and draft budget for the Indigenous Education targeted funding for 2026-2027. Discussion occurred regarding invitation to participate in the meeting with the Island IECs, and future meeting dates are now set for April 15th. There's a special budget meeting, May 6th and June 3rd. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We have 2 motions coming out of committee. So the first one, motion rising from March 9th, 2026 Early Learning Child Care Committee. Before we put the recommendation on the table, Trustee Lise, you chair that committee. Would you like to talk about it before we throw it out there?
I'm just going back to my notes here. On my international student program, I'll just go by my. Oh, for the Mother Goose. My apologies. Yes, so Mother Goose has been supported by our district for quite some time. It's a program that goes into the classrooms for early learning, and it's a program that has always struggled, and yet one that has been shared financially. And so we are here today to see if this is something that we want to continue.
To fund, because it's lost its funding. Yep. All right, any questions for Trustee Lise before we put the recommendation on the table? Seeing none, that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley direct staff to review funding to the Mother Goose program. Moved by Trustee Lise, seconded by Trustee Strachan. All those in favor? Thank you, folks. And then we have one coming out of BEBC, which I believe you all probably remember, so we can go straight to the recommendation. That the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley approves the 2027, 2028, and 2028-2029 international student program fees as presented. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Thorn. All those in favor? Thank you. Sorry, Trustee Croft?
Do we have a motion that said we were gonna add another $50 in here somewhere? Is that,
It's on.
it is in there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on here.
Got it.
It's yours with me.
Okay.
Schedule of upcoming meetings and events. Trustee Croft, you're at DSAC on Thursday. So you're still good to go?
Indeed.
Excellent. Just a reminder, climate action on the 24th. And I'll be attending DPAC. Everything's there that should be there, folks. I'm looking at the chairs of the committees, yes. All right. Seeing no concerns, moving on to question period. If we have anybody from the gallery or anybody online that would like to ask a question or submit a question, please do so. Nothing online, and those questions submitted from the gallery. So, hearing a motion to adjourn. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Dolman. All those in favor. Folks, we'll take 5 minutes and we'll head back into closed.